The Seven Sisters of Selkirk, a dark history from 1899. In the autumn of 1899, the small town of Selkirk, Pennsylvania, was known for three things: its coal mines, its morning fog that rolled through the valley like ghostly fingers, and the Whitmore Academy for young ladies. The academy sat perched on Maple Hill, overlooking the town with its grand windows and ivy-covered walls. It was here that seven sisters would vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions that haunted the community for generations. The Ashworth sisters were the pride of Selkirk. Margaret, the eldest at 19, carried herself with the quiet dignity expected of a young woman preparing for marriage. Elizabeth and Catherine, the twins at 17, shared not only their auburn hair but also a mischievous spirit that often got them into harmless trouble. Sarah, 16, was the bookish one always found with her nose buried in poetry or philosophy. The younger three, Rebecca at 15 and at 14, and little Emma at just 13, followed their older sisters like devoted shadows. Their father, Thomas Ashworth, owned the largest coal operation in the county. Their mother, Helen, that died in childbirth with Emma, leaving the girls to raise each other under the watchful eye of their governess, Miss Adelaide Porter. The townspeople often remarked how the girls moved together like a flock of elegant birds, their dark dresses rustling in unison as they walked to church each Sunday. The autumn of 1899 had been particularly harsh. The first snows came early, and with them, whispers of strange happenings in the surrounding hills. Miners reported hearing singing echoing through the tunnels, voices that sounded like young women. Though no women worked in the mines, some claimed to see lights dancing in the abandoned shaft known as the Widow's Hollow. A mine that had been sealed after a collapse claimed 12 lives the year before. Miss Porter, a stern woman with silver-streaked hair and sharp blue eyes, had noticed changes in her charges. The girls, once chatty and full of laughter, had grown quiet and secretive. They spent hours whispering together in the parlor, their conversations stopping abruptly whenever she entered the room. She found them reading books that weren't part of their curriculum, old texts about local folklore and Native American legends that she couldn't remember purchasing for the library. It was Margaret who first mentioned the dreams. During their evening meal on October 15th, she spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "We've been having the same dream," she said, her spoon hovering over her soup. "All of us every night for a week." Miss Porter set down her teacup with a sharp clink. "Dreams are products of an overactive imagination, Margaret. Young ladies should focus on their needlework, not flights of fancy." But Elizabeth leaned forward, her eyes bright with something that might have been fever or excitement. "It's not fancy, Miss Porter. We dream of the hollow, the sealed mine. There's someone calling to us from inside." The governess felt a chill that had nothing to do with the October air seeping through the windows. She had heard the local legends, of course. The Seneca tribe had considered these hills sacred, a place where the veil between worlds grew thin. When the first settlers arrived, they spoke of voices in the wind and shadows that moved without bodies to cast them. Over the following week, the girls' behavior became increasingly erratic. They would gather at the window that faced the hills, staring for hours at the distant opening of the Widow's Hollow. Their father, busy with his business affairs, barely noticed. Miss Porter tried restricting their movements, assigning extra lessons and chores to keep them occupied, but nothing could shake the distant look in their eyes, or stop their midnight wandering through the halls. On the morning of October 25th, Miss Porter discovered 7 empty beds. The girls' nightgowns lay neatly folded on their chairs, and their day dresses were missing from the wardrobe. The front door stood ajar, letting in the cold dawn air. In the foyer, 7 pairs of boots were lined up perfectly, as if the girls had simply walked out of them and continued barefoot into the mist. Thomas Ashworth organized search parties immediately. Men from the mines and townspeople combed every inch of the hills surrounding Selkirk. They found the girls' dresses hanging from the branches of 7 oak trees that formed a perfect circle around the entrance to the Widow's Hollow. The fabric fluttered like prayer flags in the autumn wind, but of the sisters themselves there was no sign. The sealed entrance to the mine showed no signs of disturbance. The heavy timber and stones that blocked the opening remained exactly as they had been placed after the collapse. Yet the searchers reported hearing something from within, not voices exactly, but a sound like breathing, rhythmic and deep, as if the earth itself was sleeping. Days turned to weeks and weeks to months. Winter buried Selkirk under heavy snow, and the search was reluctantly abandoned. Thomas Ashworth, aged 10 years and as many days, his black hair turning silver almost overnight, he closed the mine permanently and moved away, unable to bear living in sight of the place where his daughters had vanished. Miss Porter remained in the empty academy for another year, writing letters to authorities and following every possible lead. She interviewed the local Native American families, learning that the Seneca had always avoided the hollow, calling it the place where the earth dreams. According to their stories, certain people could hear the dream songs of the earth spirits, and if they listened too closely, they might be invited to join the eternal dreaming beneath the hills. The governess found Margaret's diary hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the eldest girl's room. The final entries spoke of voices calling from underground. of dreams where the sisters walked through crystal caverns filled with otherworldly music. The last entry, dated October 24th, contained only one line: "The earth has been lonely too long. We understand now why we came to this place." Years passed, Whitmore Academy closed its doors, and the building stood empty on Maple Hill. But the townspeople never forgot the seven sisters. On quiet nights, especially in autumn when the mist rolled thick through the valley, some claimed they could hear singing drifting from the direction of the Widow's Hollow. The voices were sweet and haunting, harmonizing in ways that human throats could never achieve. Modern investigators would later theorize about underground caverns, about the possibility that the girls had found another entrance to the mine system. But the older residents of Selkirk, those who remembered the sisters and their strange disappearance, believed something else entirely. They believed that some people are born belonging to places rather than to the ordinary world. The Ashworth sisters, with their identical dreams and their strange unity, had simply gone home, not to a house or a family, but to the deep places beneath the earth, where time moves differently and the old spirits still sing their ancient songs. The Widow's Hollow remains sealed to this day. But on certain autumn evenings, when the conditions are just right, hikers report hearing seven voices harmonizing in the mist. As beautiful and haunting as they were in life, forever part of the dreaming earth that called them home.